All right, welcome to your first phase of the Resilient Runner of base strength. So basically how these blocks are going to work is you have your main like overarching 12-week macro cycle split up into 3 4-week blocks. So you'll do the same exercises for 4 weeks, and then every 12 weeks we kind of shift the focus. So this first block of 12 weeks is what I'm calling base camp. It's all about building the foundations to progress you further into a more not necessarily like beginner versus advanced lifter. It's more about making sure that your movement patterns are really sound before we start trying to load weights. All right. We want to make sure that your body's moving properly because something that I see a lot is people just trying to move a weight from A to B. And that's all well and good if that's your goal. But because our goal is more than just lifting weights in the gym, we want to make sure that our body is moving properly and we're actually working the right muscles. So we want to make sure that your body's actually getting the weight from A to B in the way that we want. So that's basically why I've created this first block. And you'll see I've kind of integrated some like kind of rehabby type exercises into the heavy lifting so that you're still feeling like you're getting a good session. If you aren't so new to the gym, obviously you can use some heavier weights, but we're still making sure that your foundations and the way that you move is really solid. Because obviously, if your body is not in alignment or your body's not moving well, it's compensating. That is obviously going to set you up for injuries, especially when you're running. So that's going to be our focus for this first 12-week block. Um, I think I said already, but yeah, you're going to have 4 weeks of doing the exact same exercises. Week one is always going to take the longest, right? Because it's going to be new. You're going to be watching the videos, going through exactly what's happening in this workout. So I want to make sure that you use week one more as like a deload week. Part of it is because you're going to be recovering from week four, which I'll explain in a second. But it's also really important that we change intensity. We have a good starting point. And like I said, the exercises are going to be new. So I don't want to like you to completely gas yourself when there's going to be another exercise coming up that you probably shouldn't have pushed yourself. So the goal is to be able to do the whole week and not wreck yourself after one session, right? So be a little bit conservative week one. Then you can increase the weights over the following 3 weeks, which will lead to week four being your heaviest and your hardest week. Okay. And so that's why week one being a deload week is super important because it's going to allow your body to adapt and absorb all of that training that you've built up to from week four. The next thing as well is the rep ranges. So what you will see this first 12-week block, we're going to be using slightly higher rep ranges. So we're looking at more like 8 to 12, 10 to 12, that kind of vibe, maybe up to 15 over the like following 4 week blocks, we will be reducing the rep ranges. I'll also be progressing some exercises. So you'll notice that like some lifts we keep the same so that you can just work on improving and increasing the weights over the whole 12 weeks. Other exercises will get more complicated. Other exercises will get removed and swapped out for different things. All right. There's always a purpose behind the schedule. I have 12 week, I have 42, however, 3 12-week blocks mapped out from the start. So there are complete progressions as you go the whole way through. It's not just random. So anyway, back to the reps. So you're going to be working with a rep range of between 8 to 12-ish. When I've given you a rep range, it's really important, probably for week one, that you aim for the higher end of the rep range, right? As the weeks progress and you increase the weights, you might find that you're not able to achieve all 12 reps. So say we're doing our split squats. You start with a weight that you can use. Say we use 10 kilos for week one, and you get all 4 sets for all 12 reps for all 4 sets. Next week, increase the weight. Next week, you might use 15 kilos, but you might only be able to do 10 reps before you fail, or before failure or technical failure, and I'll explain that in a second. You might only get 10 reps. Keep that same weight for another week and then try and get more reps the following week. Once you can do all 4 sets or all 3 sets with at the higher rep range with that weight, then you can increase the weight to make you drop the reps down again and keep progressing just like that. All right. What was I just going to go back over? I don't know, but it'll come back to me later. All right, so that is basically the rep range that you're going to be using. The rest is super important. All right, we want to make sure that you're lifting with quality, and not rushing through it. This is not a cardio workout. All right, we want to make sure that we've got really quality reps. That's what I was going to talk about. So there is a difference between technical failure and muscular failure. We want to be striving for muscular failure. Muscular failure is basically when you're doing an exercise and your muscles are starting to struggle because they're getting fatigued or the weight is feeling really heavy. Technical failure is when your stabilizing muscles or your muscles can't keep you moving from A to B in the way that you want. So you start doing funny things. For example, in a lunge, you might start swinging your hips out. In a bicep curl, you might start throwing the weight around, things like that. We want to be aiming for muscular failure. If you are finding that your technique is breaking down, obviously it's going to break down a little bit when it's getting really heavy, but if it's significant, we want to pull the weight back. And I would rather that you went lighter and went slower to really work on your technique. You've got the technique sound and you can do the full range of a movement, then you can start pushing to muscular failure. All right. So if you're not able to get muscular failure, but your technique's breaking down, just slow the exercise right down, slow down every single rep and really focus on working those muscles through the range. Then you will find as you progress, you will be able to get to muscular failure. But if you push through technical failure, you never actually build the strength to be able to do the exercise properly. So that's just probably one thing that's super important to understand. In terms of this actual block with this workout, you'll see we've got some warm-up exercises to start. They're a little bit rehabby to really make sure that your body is moving well, but also warming you up, getting some blood flowing, getting your joints nice and lubricated. The depth drops for this session on day one, obviously your app's going to look a bit different. This is just my back end. The depth drops, we have got 5 reps. Now, this might not feel like much, but the focus here is on making sure that your body can absorb shock from landing, okay? So if you're not confident with jumping, I would start just on a step and focus on landing. You're going to be landing in about a quarter squat position and just really bracing so you kind of feel like you're hitting the ground quite hard, but it's going to teach your body to absorb shock. All of your muscles are going to switch on. It's also really good for your joints and making sure that we can obviously, when we're running, we're constantly landing on the ground. You'll also see that some of the exercises have like an alternate exercise, which just means that so for this one, if you're not comfortable jumping or landing, we've got an option here. Sometimes the alternate exercise will be an easier version or a regression. So if you can't do what is prescribed, then the easier option is going to be there for you to regress to. Please don't feel bad if you need to do the regressed option. Like it is just your starting point. It's where you're at. Guaranteed, give it a couple of months and you'll be away and doing those harder versions. So no stress there. The other time there might be an alternate exercise is if I've prescribed a machine or a piece of equipment that's not necessarily like, I can't be for sure that it's in every single gym, I'll just give you another option to be able to use to make sure that you have a choice there if your gym doesn't have the equipment. And then that's basically it. We're obviously working a lot of single leg work, a lot of stabilizing work, a lot of balance work, working on our upper body posture. Some of the big goals that we're going to be working on is we're going to be working on building up to pull-ups, push-ups, and then obviously really strong legs, because I think all women should be able to strive for that. And it also is just like a really good overall body strength for running. So yeah, so that's day one. I think that's all I wanted to talk about. And then day 2 is very much similar, just no plyometric work, starting with our hip thrusts, and then going into, got some mobility work in there. I do have a point here. So this is going to seem really strange. A lot of the time when we do exercises, we get told to, so say in a deadlift, you get told to push your hips backwards so that you're rocking onto your heels. I know I've had coaches be like, oh, you should be able to like lift your toes up off the ground when you are doing like certain exercises. But that is not what I want you to focus on. What I want you to be able to do is to be able to put pressure through the front of your foot as well. So if you're just standing here and you imagine you're putting your foot on the gas pedal, so you're like pressing your toes down into the ground so that you're almost lifting your heels up. Feel that pressure under your toes, right? That engagement. Now use that tension when you are doing your hip thrust, your deadlifts, anything. I've put the comment on the split squats, as you can see here, because this is probably one that people forget the most. But I want you to keep that tension. I want you to really focus. So you're almost getting your calves to help do some of the work so that as you come down, you're really driving that front foot, those toes into the ground, and it will feel a lot different, but you will get a lot more glute engagement, a lot of quad engagement, and that coordination of all those muscles with the toes down, with that pressure, is going to contribute to a really much more powerful running stride. Okay, so really important that you think about that and whenever you're doing this exercise. And I think that's it. Let me have a quick think. Is that all that I wanted to cover? All right, I think it is. If you've got any questions, make sure you chuck them in the group chat. Oh, one other thing, if you would like feedback on your exercise, like on you doing the exercise, just take a video of you doing the exercise and send it to me on WhatsApp. One day it will be integrated into the app, but we're still working on that. So my little hack, just lean your phone up against like your drink bottle, have it at like a 45-degree angle. So it's not necessarily right in front, but it's like kind of on an angle so I can see you from the front and side. Have it on selfie camera because then you can make sure that you're in the screen. That's always super helpful. And then yeah, just send it through to me and I will be able to give you some feedback. Sometimes I'll give it to you privately, but other times I might just put the response into the group chat just because I think it will be beneficial for everybody. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much it for this first block, weeks 1 to 4. So best of luck, enjoy, and make sure you let me know how you find it.